Hey guys, it's Tony here at Game Freak Blog again, just bringing you another video. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic week. Hasn't the weather been glorious? It's been absolutely beautiful. I've been going around in my shades and t-shirt and lounging about in the sun, sitting outside drinking nice cold beer. It's been absolutely fantastic. And I'm pretty much as well, if you're a driver, I hope you've been able to fill up your cars with petrol. Well, I actually hope you haven't, because if you have, you've been contributing to the entire problem. But there you go. It's been a big petrol crisis in the UK. Absolutely crazy. But it's time for a new video. Excuse me. And today what I'm going to look at is a comparison between the arcade and the Sega Megadrive versions of Altered Beast. Now there's a reason that I'm doing this, because I was thinking of a kind of series to do for my channel, and what I'm thinking about doing is basically getting my top 100 games of all time together and doing a video piece about those. Not in any particular order, just essentially the games that influenced me as the gamer that I am today, some of my favourite games. And I was just kind of flicking through and knocking a list together, thinking of what games are going to be on there, what games might make the list but may not. And one of the ones that I was kind of like thinking about putting on there is Altered Beast. Now, I have some quite fond memories of Altered Beast. My very first memory is playing it in the arcade. We used to have a skateboard shop in Nottingham. Roller Snakes it was called, and they used to have the arcade game in there. And when I was a naughty young man and I used to bunk off school, me and a friend called Craig Sutherland used to go down into Roller Snakes. They used to have about 6 or 7 different arcade games in there, and we'd go and shove all our dinner money into Altered Beast. And I can remember when the game was released in 1988, I believe, and it was a packing game with the original Megadrive. And when I first got the Megadrive, I used to play it for absolutely hours. And in the reviews that kind of like came out in such magazines as Mean Machines and whatever at the time, you know, everyone was going on about how arcade perfect the conversion was. And I just wanted to have a quick look and see if that was actually the case. Now, I mean, okay, I'm about 20 years out of fucking date here, I know that, but just going through, I was actually surprised at the comparisons, because in my mind I used to think the Mega Drive version was quite an accurate conversion, and it plays quite similar. But this is the arcade version that's going on here, and you know, just keep your eye on what's been going on through the level. You know, you may have to kind of like rewind it, and as you've been listening to me fucking waffling on or whatever. But there are some quite staggering differences in the game. The Mega Drive version will be coming up soon, and I'll just point some out that I kind of noticed while playing through the game. I just recorded these gameplay footages about 10 minutes ago. So this is simply level 1. I'm just going to be looking at level 1 and level 2 of Altered Beast. I'm sure you've all played it to death. I'm sure you've all watched people playing it, watched videos on YouTube about it. But I just want to have just like a little comparison, just for no other reason than I can. So basically, that's the first level there. You know, the story of Altered Beast, you could write it on the back of a postage stamp. You're basically a centurion that's been risen from the grave by Zeus to rescue his daughter, and you just have to go through levels and you transform into certain beasts. So this is the Mega Drive one. So you can already hear that the sound sample was a little bit kind of tinnier than the original arcade one. The text that came up on the top wasn't well defined. It was pretty much just green, really. And the first thing that kind of like hits you really is is just the little details. You can see the grass here in the foreground is actually quite short, and in the arcade version it comes up to like your knees, and there's a kind of nice parallax scrolling effect on it. And another thing that instantly hit me was the size of the enemy sprites. You'll see in the original arcade version, if you just want to skip back like a minute, the wolves where you get the power-up orbs from, they're absolutely colossal. They're massive, and in this, they almost look like little puppy versions of them. You almost feel bad for kind of like hitting them. They did alter the way that the enemies kind of spawn and everything, as you've seen here. Pretty much, I get the werewolf straight away, the very first meeting of the boss, and as you can see there's no kind of like sprite scaling on the boss. In the arcade version, when he says "Welcome to your doom," he kind of scales up, grows to a massive height, transforms into the beast in the cloud of smoke, and all you get here is basically smoke covering up the swapping of the sprite. The boss character here is quite a lot smaller. You can tell the background detail, all the graves and everything in the background. It's hardly there compared to the arcade version. And in the arcade version, at this point, the screen's kind of like dulling down into black and white to bring more kind of like detail to what's going on with you fighting. So there's just simple little things like that you know, you didn't really notice. When I was playing through it years and years ago, when I very first got my Mega Drive, you know, I just thought it was completely arcade perfect. And it's not really until you go back and revisit the arcade game that you see that you see what the differences are. And straight away, and here as well, compare that little crystal ball to the other in the arcade. It's sitting on a plinth. And I mean, would it have really taken up that much rendering power or whatever to draw a plinth on that? I don't actually think so. So here we're jumping into level 2, which is kind of like the underground cavern. And again, just look at the size of these blobby things here. I don't actually know what the enemy's called. Just big blue pus-filled sacks or whatever. Just have a look at the size of those. Keep that in memory. And look at the size of the wolves here compared to the Mega Drive version. They're absolutely massive. They're almost as big as your character there. The Mega Drive version of this level is pretty similar. The background looks pretty cool. The one thing that it is really missing, as you'll notice, are these big blocks that kind of get in your way. You can beat them down, but it just disrupts the enemy kind of pattern, if you like, because the bad guys tend to jump on those and then jump off. It gives like an added height to the level, which it didn't have in the Mega Drive version. And also, the arcade game is just a lot faster. It's just a lot faster paced. Those kind of like snakes, the like rattlesnake dragon things that fly. I've just skipped forward a bit here, just until we get the pickup. The rattlesnake dragon things tend to fly out of the floor. And there's just little bits of animation that you don't. It doesn't really matter to the game. It doesn't affect the gameplay. But as you can see here, when you've powered up into the dragon form and you're using the kind of electric shield, electric barrier attack, that he's almost doing a kick when he does it. He's almost like kicking and the force field's coming out. And as you'll notice when we get to the Mega Drive version, there's no kick at all. It's just like the electric field just kind of comes out of his body, really. And another thing that you'll notice from when you transform into the Wolfman, when you're in the Wolfman form, when he's throwing out his fireballs, he's almost doing the Shoryuken like Ken and Ryu from Street Fighter. He's kind of curling his hands back and throwing it out. Whereas in the original Mega Drive version, he's just kind of punching. He's just doing a punching animation, and the ball's flying out of his hand. Now, again, just look at the size of the boss. You see the boss is scaled up. Look at this size of this boss, just kind of bear this boss in mind. So you see he's almost like, well, he's over 3/4 of the way up the screen. That's the easy way of doing him there. If you can kind of just move in and target that main big eye and just keep hitting your shield, you'll just destroy him within milliseconds. It's funny with retro games how I always remember these little cheats, these little skanks, these little ways about. I think for every single retro game that I play, I'm just going to really stop calling it a retro game, really. Every single game from the olden days that I play, such as Double Dragon, Altered Beast, I always remember these little sweet spots where you can hit the enemies. So here we go onto the Mega Drive version. You can see that the background's a little bit darker, but it's still kind of fairly, you know, true to the arcade parent. But just look what I mean about the size of the enemies. They've really, really shrunk in size. They've really reduced the size of the sprites. I mean, those puss bag purple blob things are almost the size of you in the arcade game, and here they basically come up to your knees. There's those little chicken leg things that saw an appearance in Golden Axe. So you know the transformations are pretty true to the arcade game as well. Got that thing stuck on my head. I think I screw right up royally here. But as you can see, look at the size of the boss again. There's no sprite scaling here. You'll just see the clouds of smoke coming out just as it covers up. There you go. And look, that's like almost half the screen. It's tiny. I didn't get in quick enough there. I couldn't really look at me. I'm just flapping in trying to get that eye. So guys, this is basically it. I just wanted to have a quick look. I'm just basically taking a a sentence for a run here. I just want to have a quick look at the differences between this, and I quite enjoyed looking at it. So I think what I'm going to do in my next video, which will probably pop up tomorrow, is have a look at the arcade and Mega Drive versions of Golden Axe. Again, I know you've probably seen them, played them all to death or whatever, but I just want to go through myself, and I'm just going to upload what I find, because again, everyone kind of quoted Golden Axe as being an arcade perfect port on the Mega Drive, but was that the case? So guys, thanks for tuning in. It's Tony from Game Freak Blog again with another video. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for speaking to me on Twitter. You know, I'm always up for a conversation. And I hope you're having a fantastic week and looking forward to the weekend. So guys, Tony from Game Freak Blog signing out. Take care, and I'll catch you.